Electricity powers our homes, workplaces. It illuminates entire cities. It's delivered on demand by our grid. This country is so vast and dramatic. Running through it, transmission lines are connecting energy to cities, towns and communities. For over a century, we've relied on fossil fuels to power our lives. But it's having a devastating impact on our climate. So right now, we're in the middle of an energy revolution where the balance is starting to move towards renewables.
People just taking control of their own power. They'd rather put a power station on their own roof and generate it themselves.
I've been working on renewables for more than a decade, and one of the biggest challenges is powering the grid reliably.
Wind and sunshine is not predictable, comes and goes.
So I'll be travelling across the country to investigate how energy generators are adapting to solve this problem.
This battery, it's so fast for energy users at home, they don't even see anything happening.
I'll explore the megastructures harnessing the wind.
They're works of art, super smooth, like a boat hull. It's an amazing piece of engineering.
Discover how energy production is being taken offshore.
A single unit, it would have the capacity to power 3,000 homes.
And I'll be meeting the people keeping Australia's lights on.
It looks like it's like working in a volcano.
Yeah, it can feel like that sometimes.
The transition to renewables is gathering pace. But how do all the parts, including consumers, work together to form a resilient grid? Can such a complex grid power our future? Australia's electricity network stretches for 918,000 kilometres. It could circle the equator 23 times. So to get a taste of what it takes to power the country, I'm starting with this web of transmission lines. They all need maintenance, from dangerously close quarters. To keep the lights on, teams like this literally put their lives on the line.
Done your fuel checks, Dan, yeah?
Oh, I have, yep.
Safety is crucial for both pilot Dan Ward and linesman Brett Newbolt. Because while maintenance is carried out, the lines remain live and lethal.
Feels like chopper work is inherently kind of comes with its risks and dangers. How dangerous is this work?
It can be risky. Obviously, we're working on live power lines. If there's thunderstorms around within 20 kilometres of the line, we won't go up. When the wind picks up, if it gets too strong, we'll stay at home. And then if it's coming from certain directions, it just makes the job unsafe. We just call it quits.
What kind of things do you have to check before you go up?
First thing, we've got to check the machine just to make sure it's still airworthy.
Pretty clean, actually. The first impression's like, that's clean, your uniforms are clean.
Yeah, we've put it on for you.
Then how close do you get to the lines?
Under 10 metres.
To a 220,000 volt line?
Yeah.
It may be all part of the job for Dan, but these lines carry 950 times the amount of electricity as the lines into our homes. And the substance they use to clean them is water.
Water often conducts electricity and you're washing the lines with water directly.
People think that, but the fact is that it's dirty water that becomes a conductive medium where we use demineralised water.
So demineralised, deionised water.
Because it doesn't conduct electricity, demineralised water is used to clean the insulators. And regular cleaning is vital to prevent trips and blackouts.
And this carries the water here?
Yeah, so the water comes from the tank, goes into the wash pump motor, and then comes through this hose. I got the trigger for water. I got to push the torque to the pilot.
Is it heavy?
Well, it is quite heavy, especially when the breeze is on it. Takes a bit of muscling, sometimes.
You need to wash your car, you just...
Wash the car, wash the paint off your car.
Really?
You all good, mate? Got a copy, all secure in the back. Good to go, mate. Righto, let me know.
Today, here in the West Australian wheat belt, the team will wash up to 60 insulators, while I try to keep up, travelling with the ground crew.
Power's going to be sufficient. Emergency landing area is clear below. The line looks good, eh? You happy? Alright, I'm happy with all that. I'll pull my boom and we'll make an approach.
Nearly every transmission tower you see on the road gets this treatment every couple of years. This is pinpoint precision work. They need to get close enough to the line to do the job, but respond in an instant to any changes in conditions.
There we go, clean. First load. Alright, we've got an undercrossing just after the road. Copy that, couple of undercrossings.
Today, the wind has picked up enough for Dan and Brett to be right on the limit of being able to do their job safely.
We've got to watch out for that bridge, man, for sure.
Brett is constantly monitoring parts of the helicopter pilot Dan can't see.
Tail's clear. Clear.
Communication and concentration are critical.
Yeah, she's getting a bit funky. There's that wind.
We're always talking to each other the whole way through, and that's critical doing this job.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong. Yeah, if we were to mess it up, it could be fatal.
But their dedication and skill keeps the power flowing.
Good job, Dan. That's done. That one's done. Good job.
Today, the guys managed to clean a fair chunk of track. It's dangerous, time-consuming work, but essential. Now scale that up across the rest of Australia. Thousands of kilometres of lines. Australia has 4 main grids. The largest runs 790,000 kilometres around the east coast, carrying 80% of the country's electricity. It's called the National Electricity Market, or NEM. And to see how it's managed, I'm heading to Gadigal country, Sydney. The NEM is operated by the Australian Energy Market Operator, or AEMO. Although I work at AEMO, this is somewhere I don't usually get to see. Dubbed the War Room, engineer Darren Spohr and the team work here 24/7 to keep the grid operating. So Darren, this is where AEMO keeps the lights on.
That's correct. This is our Sydney control room.
What is keeping the lights on involved?
In a day-to-day context, we need to balance the supply that's generated in the power system versus the demand in real time. So you can see here on the wall at the moment, the generation and demand is balanced beautifully.
So what happens if supply and demand do get out of whack?
Oh, well, look, if all of our systems fail us, it could lead to cascaded failure of the power system.
To keep our power supply constant, AEMO oversees almost 500 large-scale generators along the east coast of Australia, ensuring just the right amount of electricity is fed into the grid. But there are some things it has no control over.
What's that?
Well, that's a new fire that's been detected on our threat analysis portal there.
Australia is increasingly prone to major weather events like fires, floods, and high winds. All have the potential to shut down parts of the grid instantly.
So if there's a fire or there's some kind of threat to part of the network, what needs to happen in this control room?
One of the most important functions is threat analysis. And as you can see here on the screen, there are indications on there showing recent fire activity and lightning strikes. We need to look at the environmental threats to the network. Under really bad scenarios, a line might have to be taken out of service, or the protection might operate to take that line out of service.
And it's not just weather events that AEMO has to adapt quickly to. The uptake of renewable energy has made the grid more diverse and more complex.
So Darren, what are some of the challenges with bringing more renewables onto the system?
Well, the new generation is providing us with the ability to source additional megawatts at times of peak demand, so it really is helping us at the end of the day. However, one of the challenges is that as we move towards a renewable-based power system, we're going to find ourselves running short on system strength.
Can we do it with the new things that we're seeing on the network?
Of course we can. Of course we can. Yes, but it requires consideration and design.
Renewables don't yet provide all of the grid characteristics needed to power the entire nation. So for now, there's still a need for energy from traditional sources. But the good news is, some of these old power players are getting a redesign. More than 75% of power coming onto the grid is produced by burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas. I want to see how these older forms of power generation play a role as we transition to more renewables on the market. So I've come to the Quarantine Gas Power Plant in Ghana country, north of Adelaide. They're in the midst of updating their 20-year-old turbines.
So Bill, it's a big day here. What's going on?
Yes, very big day for Quarantine Power Station. We've got the old unit out and we're now in the process of preparing to put the new unit in.
Coal and some gas power plants traditionally run big spinning turbines 24/7. Even when demand is low, they're kept running, burning fuel and producing carbon dioxide. While this has provided stability in the past, these turbines are no longer responsive enough.
What we're seeing now is a lot of solar, a lot of wind come onto the grid, and as we all know, wind and sunshine is not predictable, it comes and goes, and what we need is new generators that can start and stop very quickly.
They're moving to faster turbines so that when cheap energy from renewables ramps up, generators can be switched off quickly. And when there are less renewables available, they can be switched back on again at short notice, protecting the plant's efficiency.
G'day Nish, how are you?
The plant's site manager, Paul Stainer, is overseeing this huge shift in the way they generate power.
That's not something you see every day. So that's a gas turbine?
That's a gas turbine.
These old turbines provide stability to the grid through inertia. Their heavy-moving internal parts keep spinning, even when there's an interruption on the network, allowing electricity to flow without disruption. But these units take a long time to get going.
So how long does this take to start up?
Once we push the button, it's about a 20-minute cycle for it to get all the way up onto full load. And equally, these older units require a little bit more downtime to cool down due to their mass. And while this one has done us great service as well, it's not able to come on fast enough and then get off quick enough.
Today, I'm joining the crew installing the second of 4 new turbines.
Site looks great, it looks really organised, and it's a really good way to head into a Monday when we've got weather that we didn't plan for.
Thanks everyone, have a great day, stay dry, stay safe, thank you.
All hands are on deck, including second-year apprentice, Kelsey McBreedy.
So you're an apprentice here?
Yes, I am. I'm a second-year electrical apprentice, and it's just been so fantastic. Just been learning so much.
That's great. What do you like about it?
I like the constant challenges, like working on each voltage rating, so from millivolts to kilovolts, and just understanding these mechanical and electrical components and how they integrate and work together is just so interesting to me.
Do you ever think about when you're working on this power plant, what that does for people and how that's part of the whole changing electricity system?
I love telling people that I work at a power station and how I'm contributing to everyone's needs.
The new turbines that Kelsey's helping install are based on technology used in aircraft, known as aeroderivative turbines. The hope is that they will secure this plant's contribution to the grid.
This is the new aeroderivative turbine.
It's a lot shinier.
It's impressive.
They're betting on these turbines because they're so much quicker, going from 0 to 100% output in just 5 minutes. And the benefits go beyond speed.
This new turbine uses significantly less gas and it produces significantly less emissions than the old technology. It's not here to displace renewable energy. It's here to complement it.
While all the turbines on site work the same way, air is compressed with gas, ignited, and the hot air generated is used to power the turbine. These new models are lighter, more efficient, and have greater temperature control, ultimately reducing emissions during operation.
So this one's getting ready for the evening peak tonight?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes on, sun goes down, bit of cloud cover and the wind drops, this unit will be called into operation.
So Paul, how will this new aeroderivative unit help this gas plant power the grid of the future?
It'll do that being fast start, fast stop, using less gas, less emissions, and allowing the uptake of renewable energy.
In its first 9 months of service, this new turbine was fired up over 250 more times than its predecessor. And while this new technology still burns a fossil fuel emitting carbon dioxide, the quarantine station see it as an important step to support the grid during the energy transition, and also to ensure the plant's future. Generating energy through burning fossil fuels creates carbon emissions and is worsening the effects of climate change. And Australia is undeniably feeling its effects. Devastating wildfires, floods, droughts, and storms are all becoming more extreme and happening more often. Yet more than a third of Australia's greenhouse gas emissions still come from electricity generation. But there are solutions, and they're all around us. Australia is rich in renewable resources. Over 7.6 million square kilometres in size. We're a country bathed in sunlight. We have enough noon sunlight in around 1/3 of the Northern Territory alone to supply the world's electricity. It's just a question of harnessing it. The key to converting sunlight to energy is through another resource Australia has in spades: silicon. It's the most critical component of solar cells, found in 95% of all panels. Silicon is extracted from locally mined quartz using blistering heat. Furnace supervisor Lee Rogers and his crew keep this place running around the clock.
So Lee, this is where it all starts.
Yeah, this is our quartz.
It's pretty common rock.
It's a very common rock. We get it from our mine in Moora. Our quartz is very low in impurities. It's one of the lowest that you'll find in large quantities anywhere in the world.
The quartz, or silicon dioxide, is transformed into silicon in this cauldron-like furnace.
This is where all the raw materials that we saw down the back has now made its way into the smelter and are now in the furnace being heated up to melt to make the silicon. The furnace is what we call stoked by operators who drive an air conditioning machine and push that material around.
The smelting process uses huge amounts of electricity to split apart the silicon dioxide into oxygen and silicon. The oxygen reacts with coal and charcoal and is then released as carbon dioxide, leaving behind near pure silicon.
So you're literally stoking the fire out there?
Yeah, you go out there in a dango. It's like a little tiny mini car with an arm on the front, which just pushes the feed.
So make sure all three electrodes that carry the electricity are covered with
the feed, yeah. So then that turns it into silicon eventually.
Like it looks like it's like working in a volcano.
Yeah, it can feel like that sometimes.
The further it goes down, the hotter it'll get. It'll turn into a molten silicon around about 3,000 odd degrees in the centre of the furnace. The molten metal will make its way out of the furnace through what we call a tap hole.
On the level below the furnace, workers face punishing heat to unblock the tap hole by hand. Expelling a huge build-up of gas and releasing molten silicon.
This is incredible! We're seeing molten silicon being poured out of a massive bucket. It's the first step of making solar panels.
Day and night, enormous ladles pour thousands of litres of molten silicon. Some of it will end up being the key material in solar panels. But as I've seen today, producing silicon is very resource intensive.
Lee, it was really hot in there. I could imagine it uses a whole bunch of energy.
We're the single biggest user on the West Australian grid that doesn't have their own power generation. For every 50,000 tonnes of silicon that we produce, there's 500,000 tonnes of CO2 produced.
That's a lot.
As off gas.
So that's both in the process and in the electricity that you need.
That's correct, yes.
It's really clear that turning this quartz into this silicon takes a lot of energy. But on the flip side, if this silicon is incorporated into a solar panel, it'll generate at least 4 times as much energy as it took to make it.
And that's being conservative. In a sunny country like Australia, it can be more than 10 times as much. Renewables currently make up nearly 25% of our energy generation. And when it comes to harvesting solar energy, we've got a lot to be proud of. Australia produces the highest amount of solar energy per person in the world. To see how silicon makes its way from rocks to rooftops, I'm back on Kaurna country, on the outskirts of Adelaide.
Rob, Midge.
Good to see you.
Welcome to Tindo Solar, Australia's only solar panel manufacturer.
At this factory, they're manufacturing panels using an Aussie invention that has revolutionised the solar industry by increasing the efficiency of solar cells that capture and convert the sun's energy into power.
So Rob, tell us what's going on here.
So this is the beginning of our line. So this is where we start soldering our cells together. We're essentially weaving a solar panel, positive to negative the whole way down. So this is the raw solar cell that comes off the line.
What type of cell is this?
This is a PERC monocrystalline solar cell.
The PERC, or passivated emitter in rear cell, was invented by scientists at the University of New South Wales. And across the world, around 85% of new cells are now based on this technology. Soon, it'll be generating half the world's solar power exciting to see one up close.
You can see that texturing on them.
Yeah, that's right. So that texturing allows that extra collection of light, but then also once we laminate them, the cell will actually go a bit darker when we're finished with the module.
Which is what you want, right? You want them to be kind of black when you're looking at them.
Yeah, that's right. Ideally, there's no light coming back off the cell at all.
They're so incredibly light and thin. Feels like the thickness of a piece of paper.
They're about 160 microns.
Less than 0.2 of a millimetre.
Yeah,
That's very
right.
thin.
That's right.
A little bit of silicon goes a long way.
You know, over a whole module, or even a whole system, there's barely even a kilo of silicon throughout the whole system.
On a house, there's less than a kilo of silicon.
Yeah, around that, yeah.
That's amazing.
4 layers of glass and plastic and an aluminium frame keep the silicon protected from the elements.
So how many of these modules would go on a typical roof?
So a typical household would take about 20 of these, and that is a 6.6 kilowatt of panels.
6.6 kilowatts of panels generates 25, 30 odd kilowatt hours of electricity on an average sunny day.
Yeah, so that's a yearly average. The average Australian household uses about 20 kilowatt hours a day of power, so that sort of system there can offset the entire household usage of a house easily.
These kinds of savings have seen our solar capacity increase by nearly 30 times over the last decade. Almost a third of homes already have solar installed, and it's increasing.
So you're seeing growth in the uptake of solar panels?
Yeah, look, we're growing every single year in terms of uptake. 80% of our sales are residential sales. People just taking control of their own power. They're sick of forking out money month after month after month. They'd rather put a power station on their own roof and generate it themselves.
And it all starts here?
All starts here.
And as uptake increases, prices are coming down. A solar panel on your rooftop costs less than half of what it did 6 years ago. There's a lot going for this type of energy generation. The materials used to build solar panels are common and fairly easily mined. It's one of the cleanest and safest forms of energy production we have. But can such a relatively cheap, accessible and renewable technology power the grid single-handedly? The sheer scale of the country could help solar become the answer to our energy needs. If the sun isn't shining in Victoria, there's every chance there's not a cloud in the Queensland sky.
Australia's size might let us ride out the natural variabilities of the weather. But there's one roadblock solar can't avoid: the night.
To fill the gap in supply, the grid needs to call on other types of energy generation.
Across much of the country, there's one renewable power source we turn to at night and in the morning more than any other type: the wind.
On Nadgeree and Nakunu land, about 100 kilometres southeast of Port Augusta, sits the Hornsdale Wind Farm.
Hey, Zach. G'day, Ditch. How are you? Good.
Technician Zach Williams is going to give me a close-up look at these energy giants.
Good spot for a wind farm.
Yeah. It's pretty good average wind in this area.
How many do you have? How many turbines?
So we've got 99 3.2 megawatt machines.
Each year, the turbines here generate enough electricity to power almost 250,000 homes. It's only when you get up close that you get a sense of their power.
Zach, when I was driving in, they looked like they were kind of spinning pretty lazily, but now that I'm up close, they're so fast, that end goes just whizzing past.
They have an average tip speed of about probably 140 kilometres an hour.
They must be built pretty specially to handle that speed all the time.
They're a lightweight but very strong blade.
What are they made of?
Fiberglass.
It's like a big surfboard.
Yeah, it's very similar.
High-tech surfboard.
Very high-tech, yeah.
Today, the turbines are getting a checkup, and that gives me a chance to go right to the top.
put this on?
Yeah, that's your harness there, Nidge.
And because that's over 90 metres up, safety is vital.
Pretty heavy.
There's a lot of heights involved in this job, and these things keep us safe.
But a harness isn't the only thing we need. It's essential Zach manually locks down the turbine before we get anywhere near the blades.
Now, at the moment, it's in remote, so we can remotely operate the turbine if we have to. So we're going to go local today and put my personal lock on, so we're all safe and no one else can start the turbine. We'll have the key with us, so no one can remotely start the turbine while we're up top.
Time to go up?
Time to go up. Let's do it.
The first stop is the turbine's engine room.
This is your deck.
Your deck.
When the turbine is running, this section yaws or swivels the blades into the optimal position to catch the wind.
When the tower follows the wind and yaws around into position of the wind direction, this whole section here yaws around.
So this whole unit, the whole bit at the top, positions itself to face always directly at the wind?
Yeah, within a certain small degree of angle, but it literally follows the wind constantly.
So it can produce the maximum amount of power to plug back into the grid?
Yeah, that's right.
Wind power works by transforming the wind energy into the movement of the blades. To feed the grid, this movement of the blades then needs to be converted into electricity by a generator. This process happens in and around the nacelle, the pod that sits just behind the blades.
So the blades are out the front, connected to the spinner, like on the hub. And then we have the generator behind these silver plates.
So the hub is where the action is, where the generator actually sits?
Yeah, the generator's connected to the hub. It's in between the nacelle and the hub. So the hub initially with the blades catches the wind, turns the generator, and then that's what creates the power.
None of this is possible, however, if the turbine can't read and react correctly to the wind. So it uses a series of sensors that monitor wind speed and direction. And to inspect them, we have to go outside.
Wow, and that's the blade?
Yep, and they're the blades.
Oh, they're massive.
They're 55 metres long.
Oh, wow.
And about 12 tonne per blade.
Oh, that's incredible. Oh my God. That's an amazing view. From here, you can really see the blades. They're works of art. They're super smooth, like a boat hull. You can see that they're made to withstand all of the stuff that South Australia throws at it, all the hail and the wind and the frost and the baking summer heat. It's an amazing piece of engineering.
Hornsdale is part of a renewable energy success story. Wind is currently generating enough power to meet over 8% of the nation's demand, and growing.
99 turbines, eh?
Yep, 99 across the site.
Generating all day?
Yeah, all day and all night.
Oh, whenever the wind blows, eh?
That's correct.
Which is a fair bit around here, right?
That's right.
I have to say, it's one of the best office views I've ever seen.
That's an amazing job. How did you get involved with this?
I was in the oil and gas industry, and then Renewables started to come about in South Australia, and I thought it was a great opportunity to get on board.
Made the switch to Renewables?
Made the switch.
Like Australia?
Yep, that's right, like Australia.
But there's a catch. Even here, there are times when it just doesn't blow. To tackle these fluctuations and support the grid, this site uses what's known as the big battery.
This battery has been in operation now for a little over 3 years. And at the time when we installed this battery, it was the biggest battery in the world.
Renewable energy expert Garth Heron is going to walk me through how it all works.
Essentially what the battery is doing here is it's collecting the energy that you can see from the wind turbines and it's storing it. And that really gives us a chance to deliver that energy back into the electricity grid, into the afternoon peak.
So when the winds are strong, the battery charges up, and during a lull, the power can be released back into the grid.
So it's storing the wind energy for when the wind isn't blowing or when people need more power?
Both, actually.
And it's doing it all in these things. Is this one of the batteries here?
Yeah, this is a rack of batteries. And a rack of batteries is essentially hundreds of tiny little cells, about the size of a AA battery. And then across this whole facility, there's about 1 million of them.
So million little batteries, lithium inside?
Lithium ion. It's the same technology that you have in your phone or your laptop, but at a big scale.
There are environmental costs to the mining and processing of lithium and the production and disposal of batteries. And yet, the technology has transformed energy storage. This battery can store nearly 200 megawatt hours, enough to power every house in Newcastle for almost an hour and a half. But capacity isn't what makes this battery so valuable. This site is also addressing one of the biggest criticisms renewables have faced, that they can't provide stability to the grid.
This battery performs a much more important function than just moving energy. This battery is designed so that when there's a fault in the network and something happens really fast, this battery can immediately kick in automatically. And for energy users at home, they don't even see anything happening. So this battery is able to go from zero output to maximum output and back to zero in the time it takes you to blink your eyes.
Since 2017, big batteries like this one have prevented several major blackout events in South Australia, proving they are a key part of the solution as we transition to a renewable grid. But batteries don't always look like you expect. Here, in Lutruwita, or Tasmania, hydroelectricity is king, thanks to the mountainous topography and high rainfall. Dams like this one store potential energy as water, used to spin turbines and generate electricity.
So this is access to the dam, Mitch.
Thanks. It's spectacular.
Ange Albertini is going to show me around Sathana Dam, 80 kilometres west of Launceston.
And we've turned the weather on for you today, Nitch. This is pretty typical. Obviously, that's why they built the schemes in these areas. But iconic piece of Tasmanian infrastructure.
There are 30 hydroelectric dams in Tasmania, making it the main source of power generation for the state.
So 80% of Tassie's electricity comes from hydro and then the rest from renewables?
Yeah, recently Tasmania became self-sufficient on average from renewable energy sources, which is a tremendous milestone for the state.
The power station sits deep underneath Lake Sathana. Gravity pulls over 100,000 litres of water a second down to a single turbine to generate up to 100 megawatts of power.
So Anne, you can see it's spinning.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. This is the working heart of the machine. So just below us, the water streams down the intake. It then gets directed into a spiral casing.
The water flows down pipes. They get smaller and smaller. And the increasing pressure spins a 30-tonne shaft that drives the generator to create electricity.
So it's flowing down the hill, it's converting that potential energy
into mechanical energy to electrical energy. It's pretty cool. Yeah, you can really feel that 100 megawatts at play here.
The basic technology used in hydroelectricity is over a century old. But now, here in Tasmania, they're planning to give it a makeover. With the help of other renewables. As more and more wind and solar are installed, supply sometimes exceeds demand. Instead of dumping this energy, there's a way it can be stored with what's known as pumped hydro. The concept is pretty simple. It involves two separate reservoirs, one higher than the other, connected by pipes. When energy is cheap due to an oversupply, water is pumped up the hill to the top reservoir. When it's needed later on, it flows back down the hill through a synchronous turbine, generating the energy. The water in the dam essentially acts like a massive battery, storing the energy. The project has the potential to store up to 15,000 megawatt hours of energy, enough to power all the homes in Tasmania for more than 2 days. This kind of capacity is over 75 times bigger than any current battery on the grid in Australia. And water can be stored long term. It could change the face of the grid, and not just for Tassie. So that Battery of the Nation project it's about Tasmania providing energy not just for Tasmania, but for the rest of the grid.
Well, that's one of the really exciting things. So Tasmania's imbued with this amazing water resource, but also this amazing wind resource, the Roaring Forties wind. But ultimately, a big pumped hydro really plays the role of providing sort of the grid-level storage and firming services that enable all that wind to penetrate the grid. So this is a very significant role that Tasmania can play in helping Australia's transition to a clean energy future.
Pumped hydro certainly sounds green, but dam construction has a devastating impact on rivers and their ecosystems. So how will it work? And Tasmania's had a fairly fraught history with rivers and hydroelectricity and dams. Are there proposals to build new dams on new rivers?
No, Nidge, the proposal really utilises existing infrastructure primarily, so the storages that are already created by the dams that exist, and certainly no impact to existing rivers.
Although new dams aren't planned, final environmental and social impact studies are yet to be completed. If it goes ahead, it's estimated that it'll cost over $1.2 billion to install pumped hydro at Lake Sathana, and a further $3.5 billion to upgrade the link that transports energy to and from the mainland. It's an ambitious project, but one that could see electricity generated locally contributing nationally. One of the key hallmarks of a stable, reliable and greener grid is a diverse range of renewable energy sources. So, to increase this diversity, engineers are now turning their attention away from the land, towards the oceans. An Australian startup has devised a new way to harness wave energy. Installed off the coast of King Island in the Bass Strait is an artificial blowhole that's exploring a new potential energy resource. At the Australian Maritime College in Launceston, inventor Tom Dennis has been putting the new technology through its paces.
This is the Australian Maritime College's model test basin, and it's the largest wave tank test facility in the Southern Hemisphere.
The tank can create waves of different size and frequency to simulate the conditions the wave power station might face in the open ocean.
The water doesn't actually move anything but the air. So the actual conversion into electrical energy works essentially due to the airflow, but that airflow is created by the waves themselves down below.
The technology uses wave swell to draw air through a turbine to generate electricity.
It slows you down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tom can demonstrate how it works using a scale model. The ribbon illustrates how air travels through the system.
You can see that as the water level inside is rising, the flap valves come out. As the water level is receding, you can see this telltale here going horizontal. That's due to the intense airflow flowing back past what will be the turbine in the real size unit.
Rather than generating power as the water level rises and falls, this technology capitalises on the movement of air only during the downstroke.
We've measured that on average it's around about 15% more power on the downstroke alone if you vent to the atmosphere on the upstroke. And that has all sorts of positive advantages. Besides the fact that there's more energy to capture, it also means that our turbine can be very much simpler. It's cheaper, more robust, and actually more efficient.
The unit can convert more than a third of the energy in each wave into electricity. But the nature of waves makes it hard to supply constant and stable power source to the grid.
The energy in a wave is pulsing. It reaches a peak and then it drops off. It reaches a peak and it drops off. That's not ideal for electricity production into the grid. So what we have on board is a very efficient but short-term battery that enables that pulsing energy to be stored temporarily so that it's able to let it into the grid as pretty much a constant flow of energy.
The use of batteries, combined with the large, consistent swell around our southern coastlines, shows the potential for this type of technology.
The King Island unit has a peak capacity of 200 kilowatts. Therefore, when it's producing at its peak, it would be providing energy for around about 200 homes. Future units will be, a megawatt or even 2 or even 3 megawatts. So that would be the capacity to produce power for 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000 homes from a single unit.
Studies show that by 2050, a mature wave energy industry could potentially contribute up to 11% of Australia's current electricity needs, enough to power a city the size of Melbourne. So in the future, fleets of these units could be deployed along our coastlines. It's clear that in the future, we're going to need a mix of energy sources. To get a glimpse of how that might work, I'm travelling to a small island off the northeast coast of Tasmania. In less than 40 years, Flinders Island has transformed from a community with no grid at all to a hybrid energy system powered mostly by renewables. So I want to see how the island's people achieved such a big change.
So Rodney used to live here?
Sure did.
How many people used to live here?
10 of us. Well, there was a hut out the back, took 2. Uncle Ted and Uncle Ben lived out there. Uncle Percy lived in here, only roof, Uncle Eric.
Rodney Newell is a Tasmanian Aboriginal man who lived in this modest hut in the 70s and 80s. Back then, only a small number of families on Flinders had diesel generators.
So what did you do for lighting and for cooking and for heat?
Well, all the cooking was done on a combustion stove. Lighting was all kerosene lanterns and candles. Now, we didn't have TV for a lot of years, but then we got that 12-inch telly, black and white. That was 12 volt. You'd take the battery out of the car, put it on the TV, and when the battery started going flat, the screen, it'd go in like that. And it'd always be when you get towards the end of a picture, so you watch it right till the end. It was a nice, happy house, Bloody cold, though.
The first community power station to appear on the island also relied on fossil fuels.
Hi, Aaron. So this is the diesel generator.
Diesel generator, there's 4 of them.
Grid manager Aaron Dorr has seen firsthand the island's energy revolution.
So you got these diesel generators in 1984 and they were the first things to supply power to the island.
Yeah, so original diesels went in 84 and then construction started on the distribution system which ran town feeders all the way to the north of the island and to Lady Barron.
While only around 800 people live permanently on the island, it took 1.1 million litres of fuel to run the power station every year.
Pre-2017, we sat in here and listened to a diesel generator run all day.
All day?
All day.
24/7?
24/7, yeah.
And now it's just quiet.
It's dead still. It was a really surreal feeling turning them off for the first time.
Yeah.
Now, these generators are only used as a backup for their new system. In 2017, the island embarked on an impressive transformation. Now, the majority of their energy comes from renewable sources.
This is it.
The system consists of a diesel UPS, battery system, resistor, 2 wind turbines and 175 kilowatts of solar.
The wind turbines and a bank of solar panels are supplemented by solar generated on residents' rooftops.
And so if the wind drops or the cloud comes across, what happens on the system?
The battery discharges into the system. All it does is pick up the peaks and troughs. So when the wind's high, the battery's charging, and then it sits there fully charged, waiting for that lull in renewables.
So reliable is the new system, it's managed to sustain the island for several days at a time without reverting to the diesel generator.
If somebody told me 5 or 6 years ago that you were going to run high percentage renewables up to 100% at times on Flinders Island, I would say they were joking.
And now here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
The components for the new system were brought to the island as modular units, like a flat-pack power station, allowing it to be easily transported and deployed. Overhauling the existing grid, all in a matter of months.
So the island's gone from 100% diesel to now having diesel as that backup power.
Yeah, it's very much so. 60% of our energy now comes from renewable energy sources, so wind and solar.
How far do you reckon you can go?
Oh, look, I'd love to go to 100% renewable. The technology's there to do it. We could go and put a big storage battery out in the paddock, another wind turbine on the hill, and we'd get right up to sort of 95 to 100% renewables.
But you guys are really teaching Australia how to do it.
Yeah, we're really leading the way. So little old place like Flinders Island, it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Flinders Island shows how existing infrastructure can be quickly adapted to provide cleaner and more efficient electricity production. There seems potential to implement similar systems of different scales all across Australia. As we move to a world powered by a diverse mix of renewables, new, unexpected opportunities to produce and store power are coming to light. There are currently 23,000 electric vehicles registered in Australia, and numbers are growing. Each of these mobile batteries can do far more than just reduce transport emissions.
Nice driving, Bjorn.
Thank you.
In the nation's capital, on Ngunnawal and Ngambri country, Bjorn Sternberg is exploring how electronic devices, like our cars, don't have to just take power out of the grid, but can become extensions of it.
So this car is currently charging from the grid, but cars like these can also go the other way, is that right?
Yeah, electric vehicles are essentially batteries on wheels.
And batteries are really great in that they can help by charging when we have too much generation, and then also discharging power back when the grid or your home needs more.
So on those minimum demand days when there's more than enough sunshine and solar power, these could help charge and stabilise the grid.
Absolutely. A typical electric vehicle stores as much energy as an Australian household uses for 2 or 3 days.
That's amazing. So if you're not driving your car all the time, you can kind of use this as your house battery.
It's a battery on wheels, yeah. And it's only one example. A lot of appliances will be able to help by timing when they use power. So your pool pumps, your air conditioners, they can modulate when they use power to match when we have a lot of solar and a lot of wind.
Beyond, it seems like with cars like these and the appliances of the future, we're literally putting power back into people's hands.
Yeah, electricity is becoming much more personal and much more tangible to everyday Australians.
Bjorn and his team are also researching how we could get the most out of our rooftop solar. There's exciting potential for communities to store and share power.
So Bjorn, these are your lab's solar panels, one of millions of systems on rooftops across Australia.
Yeah, in Australia we now have over 2.5 million roofs with solar on them and have more panels than we have people in this country.
More panels than people?
Yeah. We used to have more sheep than people, now we have more solar panels than people.
What a narrative, huh? Yeah. So what impact does all this community solar have on the grid?
We're now approaching the point where we have so much solar on household roofs and business roofs that it can cover all of the demand of that household and of their neighbourhood. That means there's nothing that needs to be imported from big generators. We're flipping the energy system on its head.
Soon, we could see solar energy produced by single homes stored in neighbourhood batteries and released during peak demand, creating community mini-grids that reduce pressure on the national network.
We no longer have this one-way flow from big generators to consumers like you and I, but instead we're providing power to ourselves in our households and then sharing it amongst our community.
That's radically different from how the system was designed for.
It's radically different, and we're still very much coming to terms with how we're going to manage that situation.
I've spent most of my life researching green energy, and it feels like we're at a real tipping point where we can have a far more dynamic relationship with the grid if we want it.
If we were going to design the grid today, how would we do it?
If we were to start from scratch today, it would probably be a lot easier. What makes it so hard is that we've got this ship that we all rely on every second of the day, and we're trying to re-engineer that ship as we're sailing on the high seas. We don't have a second that we can turn everything off and start over.
Rebuilding a boat on the ocean.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
To stop burning fossil fuels for electricity generation and be powered by an entirely green grid is a complex task. But the energy industry is changing faster than anyone ever imagined.
The rate of innovation is amazing, but the challenge is daunting. We've got a lot to do in a very short amount of time.
We have some of the building blocks, but for a stable grid, hundreds of ideas are required, and they'll have to work together. People need reliable energy, and increasingly, we need clean energy.
I have absolute confidence that Australia can get to zero emissions electricity faster than what's been suggested. The technology is there, the know-how is there. Now we just got to get on and do it.